If you have been anywhere near the internet lately, you literally cannot escape the Epstein Files. It is a story that has absolutely exploded, right? It's filled with huge names, some really shocking claims, and, let's be honest, a ton of confusion. Hey everyone, welcome back to AI Explainer, the place where we use AI to simplify these huge, complex ideas. So today, we are going to do exactly that. We're going to cut through all the noise and try to make sense of what is actually in these documents. First, let's just get a handle on the size of this thing. We are talking about 3.5 million pages. Think about that. The Department of Justice dropped this massive trove of documents. This isn't just a list, it is a tidal wave of information. So the big question is, what's really in there? Is it that one big, scandalous client list that everybody was talking about and expecting? Or is it something a whole lot more complicated? Let's dive in and break it down. So, here's our plan. We're going to look at where these files even came from, who actually gets named in them, what's still being hidden behind those black bars, all the fakes and wild theories popping up, and maybe most importantly, why this whole story still matters so much. All right, first things first. Where in the world did all these documents come from? Because, knowing the origin story is a really critical piece of this puzzle. Okay, and this part is so important to get right. These files are not from some new criminal case. They actually come from an old civil lawsuit, a defamation case, that was filed years ago by Virginia Giuffre, one of Epstein's main accusers, against Ghislaine Maxwell. And that context, it is the key to understanding, pretty much everything that follows. All right, let's get to the part that has everyone talking, the names. And believe me, this is where things start to get really, really messy. The number of powerful people mentioned is just staggering. And instead of trying to read off some endless list, it's actually way more helpful to just think about it in categories. We're talking former US presidents, tech billionaires, actual royalty, prime ministers, even Nobel Prize-winning scientists, and huge celebrities. The reach of this network was just global. Now we have reached what is probably the single most important point in this entire explainer. Somebody on Reddit put it perfectly. A reminder that just being mentioned in these documents doesn't automatically mean guilt or any wrongdoing, not by a long shot. And you can really see the different shades of gray here. Take Donald Trump, for instance. His name pops up a lot, but it's often just in a news article that was submitted as evidence or in some secondhand gossip. Then you have Bill Clinton, whose name appears but mostly confirming things we already kind of knew. But then you have someone like Prince Andrew, whose name is directly tied to serious allegations that had very real-world consequences. See, the context is everything. And all of this leads us to the real tension at the heart of this document dump. This constant battle between what the files actually show us versus what they're still hiding. And here's where we hit a major contradiction. For years, the big question was, did Epstein act alone or did he traffic victims to other people? Some official statements suggested there wasn't much evidence for that. But, and this is a big but, these newly released files contain direct allegations that Epstein did in fact provide victims to other powerful men like Harvey Weinstein and financier Leon Black. Now, it is important to say both men completely deny any wrongdoing and haven't been charged. And this right here gets to the heart of why so many people are so frustrated. I mean, imagine waiting years and years for transparency, and then you get documents where huge chunks, sometimes literally entire pages, are just covered in black ink. Of course, that's going to fuel distrust. One Reddit user just absolutely nailed it. They called it a black marker release. And that really captures the feeling, right? For a lot of people, this wasn't about revealing information. It was about hiding just as much. So what happens next? Well, you know how they say nature abhors a vacuum? The internet does too. When you have this giant information vacuum created by all those blacked out pages, something is going to rush in to fill that space. And in this case, that something was a whole lot of misinformation. And here is a perfect and kind of scary example. Right after the files dropped, this picture started spreading like wildfire online. It supposedly showed Jeffrey Epstein just chilling, alive and well in Tel Aviv. People were debating it, sharing it, building entire conspiracy theories around it. But of course, it didn't take long for the bubble to burst. As this user on X pointed out pretty bluntly, the picture was a total fake, created by artificial intelligence. It's just a crazy example of the chaotic media environment we live in, where someone can inject a super realistic fake into a massive news story and just muddy the waters for everyone. There's actually a term for this whole mess: It's called an infodemic. It's basically an information epidemic. You've got millions of pages of real documents, mixed with heavy redactions, mixed with AI-generated fakes, and suddenly it becomes almost impossible to figure out what's real and what's not. Okay, so let's zoom out. With all the names, the blocked out pages, the AI fakes, it's a lot to take in. So what's the big picture here? Why does this story still matter so much?
Well, at the end of the day, this whole thing is so much bigger than just one man. It matters because it pulls back the curtain on these networks of powerful people who maybe felt they were above the law. It keeps a spotlight on the victims and their incredibly long fight for justice. It's a perfect case study of how secrecy just breeds conspiracy. It's even sparking new official investigations in other countries like Norway and France. And maybe biggest of all, it's forcing all of us to have a really tough conversation about what truth even means in a world full of AI fakes.
So yeah, the release of the Epstein Files leaves us with way more questions than answers. It's complicated, it's frustrating, it's deeply disturbing, and it really makes us all grapple with a huge question. When secrets are still hidden and the very idea of truth is being attacked, what does justice even look like? If this explainer helped clear up even a little bit of the confusion for you, we'd really appreciate it if you'd like, share, and subscribe to AI Spleener. We'll be back with more breakdowns of the big stories shaping our world. Thanks so much for watching.